alaikum and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing fantastic. This midweek we have now finally reached.
I think it's Wednesday. Assalamu alaikum, Jianum, Pakhera Galeni, how much, Uneshume, Washmale, Ohio Gonzaimas, highs and hellos to all those amazing people who are tuned into PD World right now and are watching World this morning alongside the stunning Shazad Khan and obviously the beautiful Maha Maktoum. How are you, Maha?
I'm very good today. But
Really?
you're very good today.
Yes,
I can feel your energy.
At the same time, I think I'm very happy. Sorry, my earpiece just dropped out of my ear. I don't know what's wrong. But still, to be very honest, Maha, there's a reason why I'm happy. And I think you have to dig it out.
Well, I'll just ask you the question. Why are you so happy today, Shazad?
Okay, the only reason why I'm happy is that finally I got to know that there's a day where I can be myself. I can actually criticize.
Do you actually need a day yourself?
Yes, obviously, because if we can celebrate Mother's Day, Sister's Day, Father's Day, and every other day, I think there should be a day for men too.
Okay, yes.
And to be very honest, today is a day which is actually dedicated to all the men who are out there, and it's not because of the fact that they can do whatever they feel like. It is because of the fact that they have to do a little bit of criticism for their own selves, that what actually they're doing is wrong, and what
Okay, wait, let me just jump in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
So today is actually International Men's Day. So
Yes.
But, a day for all the men out there, but it's also for a day for introspection. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a day not that you guys get away with everything. It's a day for you guys to look at yourself and critique what are the issues that are going on.
What are the issues, and to help with all those issues, I think people out there, they look for role models and they try to follow them. So people like Morgan Freeman and all these other celebrities, I think these are the role models for majority of the people in West. And that's what they do. They try to follow each and every attribute of them. And at the same time, to be very honest, most of the time what happens is that the man itself, what we do is that we have a little bit of violent thought process, which obviously women cannot compete with. But to be very honest, due to this violence, this day is actually dedicated to all those men who are out there so that they can actually think where they're wrong, where do they think that they can fit in, how do they think that their role models are so efficient and effective at the same time. So make sure that whatever you do today, you calculate your efficiency and effectiveness, because that's what's going to give you 100% result.
Absolutely. And so today, we're going to be focusing on the parenting of boys, what kind of role models they have, what kind of role models should they have, and where do they go to find these role models, and where should they turn to. So I think we've got a massive panel today, so I think we should get the conversation started.
All right, so on my right-hand side, obviously, since it's World's Men's Day, so Men's Day, obviously, so what we've done is that we have invited all those gentlemen who have been on the show, on our show earlier. So I'm going to do the introduction. I'm going to directly plunge into it. So on my right-hand side, we've got a smart gentleman, and his name is obviously Faheem Sardar. He's an investment banker. Thank you very much, Faheem sir, for coming over. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So who's your role model, first of all?
Okay, you jumped the...
We just jumped
directly,
Okay, that's interesting.
You haven't figured it out yet?
No, I have. I mean, there's a collective.
Okay.
You don't have a single role model.
So you're going to take 2-3 names.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, firstly, it's Hazrat Umar. Then we have, the ultimate role model. I won't even say it. It's very clear. We have people like, okay, now.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of time so that you can think over it, and then I'm going to come back. So alongside Mr. Faheem Sardar, we have got Mr. Wahab Sabtan. Thank you very much for coming over. How are you?
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
How does it feel like
to
have a day dedicated to us?
Well, first of all, let me tell you a bit of history of how this day.
We will jump into that in a second. Shazad keeps jumping the gun, so we will first do the rest of the introduction.
Yeah. All right. So alongside Mr. Awab, we have got somebody who's been on the show, and whenever he speaks, he makes a point. And he's none other than Brigadier Nayyar. So thank you very much for coming over. Lovely having you. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very well, fine.
Okay, we'll definitely come back to you, because otherwise Maha is going to punch right in my face.
Yes, exactly.
And last but not the least, we've got Mr. Kashif Suhail, who himself is an educationist. Thank you very much for coming over. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much, and assalamu alaikum to the entire nation watching us, and to all the men
and to all those people who live in Gulf states, Asia, Africa, everywhere.
All around the world.
Since we are global, so yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So let's get the conversation started, because I know Shazad is like raring to go with this. So let me start with you. How do you feel? I'm going to take Shazad's question. to have a day dedicated to men? How important do you think it is to have this day?
I think it's important in the sense that I sort of ask a question: why are we doing this? What's happening with us? I mean, we've got these days, and now I'll jump the gun here. We're totally being bombarded with this female rights thing. I mean, it's a big question mark on my face, at least. I won't say anything on behalf of others, but what exactly is going on with us in society? Do we have to celebrate these things only once a year? Can't we have rights for men and women? Can't we have role models for men and women throughout the year?
Absolutely.
On a continuous basis, because that's how society is structured. If you do not do this, because now I'm jumping way ahead,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it's about role models. If you cannot have a structure, a construct in society where men and women have something to look up to, an example, a milestone. You see, we look at others as like milestones.
Okay.
If you don't have that construct in society, you will have trouble. You will have deterioration. Then you'll have this strange, and this is slightly peripheral to the issue, but it is related. You have this strange tug of war.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I'm more oppressed than you. You know, that's a ridiculous debate. I mean, I don't even.
When you put it like that, that sounds ridiculous.
It is
really.
ridiculous. I mean,
Okay, so having this day, it's to create awareness. It's to raise, issues that maybe we are ignoring all year round. So if I ask Avab, how does it make you feel that what do we need to observe this day today? Is it important?
Yeah, if I quote a few statistics world over, you will agree with me that celebrating this day is very important. First of all, the world over, men are more likely to die before the age of 65,
Right.
All right.
before the age of retirement. It means that many families will be without fathers.
Right.
So it's really important to focus on health and well-being of men.
Okay.
Secondly, a boy or a man is more likely to leave his home before the age of 25. So this is one of the very important issues men face in their life.
Okay.
Then you see in universities, you have studied in universities abroad and in Pakistan, and you might have observed that men are less likely to get admission to universities in recent history. So maybe there are some injustices happening to men, and there is a need to refocus development of men also.
Okay.
Or I don't know whether we're going to agree to what you just said or not, because most of the time, whenever I have seen around my own self, for example, if it's my friends or uncles or cousins, I think they've got their admissions. It's just that I think boys are not more likely to score up to the merit. That's the only reason, I think.
Yeah, then to build capacity of men and boys so that they can score high.
All right, let's
Yeah,
see
that's the
whether we
point.
can build the capacity or not. Brigadier Sahib, coming over to you, why is it really important to have a role model in your life? Why can't you be your own role model?
Your performance and achievement is always good if you have a target. And a role model is a target, right? If you have something in front of you, you would like to be like him or better than that. So that's why it is important to have a role model so that you can follow certain things in your life.
But who have you been following since you are?
It has been
army
changing
man?
a lot, but finally I have arrived at a point, what he said in the beginning, I think the perfect role model in my opinion was the Holy Prophet. Not from, as a role model,
Okay.
And then I have a variety in it, and the second person whom I follow with my heart and soul was Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
And how do you actually follow them? For example, talking about peace be upon him, alhamdulillah. Well, he's a role model for the entire world, and that's what has been taught to us at the same time. But don't you think that we lag behind and we don't follow all those values which we have been taught, obviously, over time and by our family? Because they have been mentioning again and again that he is a role model, and it's 100%, and package. Okay, so if you're going to go in the way in which peace be upon him went, you're going to be successful. You're going to get life. You're going to get God. You're going to get heavens. You're going to get everything. So why do we lag behind? Is it because of education? I think I'll quickly move on to you first of all. So you think, is it because of the lack of education? And at the same time, there was a time in schools when children used to get inspired by teachers. But now, all of a sudden, I don't know, the standard of students is quite higher than that of teachers. So why do you think this shift is there?
Shahzad, just making a short comment before we move on to your next point. In fact, this is a wonderful comment you made. Why can't we have ourselves as a model?
Yeah.
In fact, you see what we have been doing in our society, we've been setting extreme role models, actually personalities which could not be perceived and seen as practical human beings working among us. We have made, almost every second person, we have made them saints, godlike. And what happened was, now I'll connect it to your next point, what happened was our youngsters, our young men, and the children, they started probably thinking, we can't be like them. They were godly people, they're saints. We cannot think of developing ourselves to be like them.
Right.
So this is one point I would want that we should really rethink. And as we are talking about International Day for Men, it's a time for reflections. It's not the time to be grudged against women, as it's happening in case of, women rights. People are being grudged against men.
Right.
You see, we really need to bring a balance here. Both are extremely important. They are actually the cogs of a machine. They're wheels of a vehicle. So we need to actually bring a balance here. And coming to your next point, to the education, you see, men actually, I believe, and I would take this blame to myself also, that we have failed to give equal attention to our children, to our younger generations. They see their mother all the time around them, even if it comes to, not just taking care of them at home, but also about their schooling, and later in their issues in their life. Men, as a father, has kept himself quite away from the children. So ultimately, these younger people have emerged in a society to be looking forward to their mothers for the solution of their issues, which could not actually give us the solutions, practical and applicable in their lives, because the mothers couldn't really understand every aspect of the life outside home, life in the society. So a balance was required to educate them in the family from, an equal support from father, balance with the mother's
That's
care.
a very good point that you raised there, Kashif. I want to bring it on to the parenting. Let's start from parenting, because we're talking about role models here, and everyone here has named role models outside of their homes. No one's said their father, no one said maybe their uncle. So where do you, because before, people used to try and emulate their fathers. I know my role model, I look up to my father, so for me, I've got it at home. So how important do you think it is to have that strong unit in the home? If I ask Faheem this.
I think it's extremely important. The only thing that we're not talking about is the exponential rise in stress and the targets that we are now supposed to achieve as men. Right. Because you see, a man is supposed to provide, he's supposed to protect, he's supposed to do this, he's supposed to do that. And at the same time, there's so many constraints. So we all emulate our parents in most ways, whether we like it or not. Right. That happens. But we have to now go beyond that. Okay. Because if you're not going to do that, in society, you might even drown. Now, what I would like to say is that in times of old, you see, we have to go back to what happened many, many centuries ago, thousands of years ago. Princes were schooled in 7 different arts. Otherwise, he was not considered a prince worthy of becoming a king. He was supposed to know mathematics, diplomacy, astronomy, biology, things like that. So that was like a grooming period.
Right.
So call it parenting, call it whatever you want, but we have to look beyond our...
But how do you think we can do that? Because it's not possible, since you just mentioned that the stress, it's rising, and the things and the traditions and the values, they're changing continuously, and most of the time what's happening now is that men, they even want to cry, but they cannot because they're men. So I mean, the stress and the burden, everything is actually increasing. So how do you think we can go beyond that, or we can think outside the box right now?
I would take what you just said and just change one word. Men sometimes want to kill, but they can't kill. Men sometimes want to have a fist fight. They just can't, because you touch someone and all of a sudden there'll be this FIR and this. I mean, you can't even have a duel with another person.
Yeah.
And that used to be very manly, okay?
Yeah.
Well, what's happening in society is this, I'd sort of like draw on this strange tug of war. As our friend has very rightly pointed out, that you see things are being pitted against each other. That needs to stop right now.
Okay.
People need to remember their place. They need to know their roles. Just do your job
Right.
and move forward. And I have to say that role models exist in Pakistan right now, but media has to.
Highlight.
Media is one part of it.
Yes.
They have to highlight. See, just because somebody can throw a ball at the right swing and somebody
Okay.
sings the song really well, those are not. I don't consider those role models for the future.
Okay, so I'm going to pick up on this point, and I'm going to
Yeah.
put this question to you, Mohammed Nawab. I want to ask you, because Faheem just said, people have got their roles and they just need to do that, but we're in the 21st century now. The roles are getting blurred. The lines are slightly, between the two genders as well. Women are going out there and working now, and they are trying to add to the income of the families. So, the stresses are increasing, but people are trying to, adapt to the stresses. How do you think, we can get the men to realize that it's okay to get stressed, it's okay to get a bit upset, it's grooming them in
But
that
that's
sense
something,
to be in touch with their emotions.
Maha,
I
that's
agree with
something
you.
which they already know. They are aware of. Okay.
Are they?
I agree with you, Maha, that under the stresses of this capitalist economy, girls are becoming boys. But unfortunately, boys are remaining the boys the way we are constructing them. What the issue is, God created men and women, and we created masculinity and femininity. This masculinity is a social construct,
Okay.
and family is an important unit of constructing this masculine gender, which is associated with violence, with aggression.
Okay.
One of the very famed social scientists named C.J. Pascoe, he had an interesting research on the social construct of boys and its association with violence and aggression. And he concludes that in families where we construct boys as aggressive boys and as controlling boys, they are more prone to aggression against women.
Right.
And this idea is also implied by Emma Watson, the famous actress in Harry, who is currently the Goodwill ambassador to UN Women. A couple of months, she had a speech where she said that we need to emancipate our boys and women from this social construct where they are being associated with aggression.
Okay.
She says that if boys are trained and expected to be aggressive, women would be submissive. If boys are trained to be controlling, women and girls would be controlled. So if we don't address this part of gender, this half part of gender, which is boys and men, we are not going to address the other part also. So
Let's
I would
see whether
agree with
Brigadier Sahib
Kashif.
is going to
Yeah.
agree with that or not. I
Yeah.
think Brigadier Sahib has an argument with that.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
Brigadier Sahib, go on. You can say it all.
The point is that there isn't anything new come up in the society now. It has been there for
It has
last
been there, yes.
4,000, 5,000 years as the history of the human beings. These things have always been there, always been there. They probably did not have the vocabulary and the word for it, right? The important thing is that you have to understand the situation and you have to manage it. The nature of the girl, the nature of the boy, they have not changed. They are same. Their behaviors are same. Everything. The only thing which is changing is couple of circumstances and stresses because of the economics outside, right? And if these things are changing, they definitely affect people.
Right.
And the parents have to realize, because they are elder and they have more experience, so they have to realize that where they have to monitor and how they have to raise a child, right? It was a desire in the beginning, it is a desire now that I must raise a child who is a good citizen.
Okay.
whether a male or a female.
Okay, but with the passage of time, Brigadier Saab, now my question is that, for example, for a man like you, I mean, you don't have all those burdens. For instance, all those burdens which I'm going through right now. You must be owning a house by now. Your children, they're married, educated, they have their own jobs. So the amount of stress you're going through is quite lower than the amount of stress I'm going through, because I have to manage and I have to plan my entire life, which is way ahead. Now, why do you think that we won't be aggressive in the outer field? Why do you think that we won't try to be versatile so that we can achieve all those goals and targets? Because if earlier we were talking about role models and goals, so I think we need to be violent. And if this attribute of ours is going to go against us, how do you think we can help us?
Look, the violence will not give you anything. You have to be told, and you have to be, somebody has to make you understand one thing, that I have not reached here straight away. I have been 20, I have been 30, I have been 35, I have been 40.
So even you have been violent somewhere.
You look, if I was told, fortunately I had a very educated father and he guided me. If I was told that I cannot achieve anything being violent, I can achieve a thing by being more deliberate and more organized.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? You cannot teach your child to go outside in the market and grab something which he needs. No,
Yeah.
he needs to acquire it.
Okay. Okay. So I want to pick up on this. We're saying, that, the stresses are there and whatnot. We're living, the Pakistan is a very much patriarchal society. Yes, women are getting out there, and I feel so outnumbered today. It's ridiculous. But the thing is,
No, I'm on your side.
okay, awesome, great, fantastic. But what my point is that we're talking about raising our sons in a certain manner, and times have changed. But what I seem to be seeing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm speaking very generally here. Within Pakistan, what I've seen is that boys are left to a certain degree, left alone to kind of almost raise themselves. They're given more freedom, they're given more rights, because it's safer.
It's taken for granted. Sorry to jump in. I mean, it's taken for granted. Oh, he's a boy. He'll just
Exactly.
He'll manage, which I think is very honorable, which a man should think. But it's almost like okay, forget it now. She needs to be protected, which is
Exactly.
also right, but to a certain
To a certain degree.
Well, no, see, I want to ask this to Kashif. Let me ask you this, that, we are leaving them, but the thing is, in their most informative years, when they should be guided maybe by their father, maybe by their teachers, they're being, they're boys, they'll be fine, let them, boys do this, boys do that. So then really what we're doing is, when they're growing older, they don't know how to handle or manage situations, so then this masculinity, femininity come into the equation. So do you agree with that or not? Do we need to give more attention to boys? Are we just neglecting them a bit now?
First of all, referring back to your earlier point about fathers being seen as the role models, once again, I would say this is a point we need to propagate, advertise, and educate our society to start showing our younger generations, people around them as role models. And I wasn't asked, I must have mentioned I saw my father as a role model, and after that Jinnah, and after that Dr. Ghazali, and after that a number of other people.
Okay.
And yes, my ideal has also moved around as per I have grown in the society and my role has changed. And secondly, at the same time, with a little disagreement with Brigadier Saab, I would say the roles have changed a lot. Society has evolved from a very different set of people to a very industrialized, and especially the ones who are living in Islamabad, to a service-oriented society. The social roles of mother and father have changed enormously. Even if you see 4 years back when I shifted to Islamabad, my role back there in Lahore was totally different, and I was enforced to actually assume very different roles being here in this city. The city has a very different dynamics.
Okay.
You see, now coming to the point, but still, it does not mean I do not take up the role of educating my children or helping them out to be groomed. The point is, our younger generation, and especially the boys, they need a special attention of the fathers.
Okay.
This is where we need to bring in a balance. As I said earlier, mothers are there, but mothers can't understand certain aspect of the society outside home, outside the shell the mother actually operates. Now, the father looks out the outer spectrum. He knows the social aspect of the socialization
That's
of
where
the
the boys
child
get
and young.
violent then, I think. If we are talking about all
No,
those
but the roles have
prospects.
changed. You see,
Okay.
the roles have changed.
Yeah.
The society has changed. For example, when we were very young, I remember we would move around with almost the people who were known to us. Our family sizes were bigger. We were living in a joint family
So
system.
now, how many times do you think you're going to feel secure if your son is outside, roaming outside, right in front of your house, maybe playing cricket with all those neighbors out there? Do you think you'll feel secure?
Wonderful. That's where the point is. That's
Yeah.
where I'm trying to tell you. Actually, you see, when we were young, we were all secure. Our parents felt very secure.
Yeah.
And you see, and that has made a difference there. Certain values were inculcated from the society, from the neighborhood, the pressure of our own people watching us.
Okay.
But it's very different now. We don't have such pressures. Our grooming is different. The values are not being inculcated.
Okay.
Fathers have taken many other stresses. So they are trying to balance their life. But a point which I would like to say here as a message, or probably in the capacity of being a humble educationist, is fathers must realize that they should not undermine the value of grooming their children, probably which they think is a higher cost, earning more money.
Right.
I would say it's actually less valuable earning more money at the cost of your children being devalued.
All right.
Absolutely.
So they need to put more attention and a special focus on their, probably sacrificing onto the financial side.
Yeah.
Because
And then at
if-
the same time, how important do you think it is, do you think that it is important for the women to understand that the man is going through a lot of stress and they cannot spare a lot of time? Because by the end of the day, if you're going to go back home, and if God forbid you're at least 10 minutes late, I think there'll be a lot of bashing for you. So how do you think we can actually make women realize that, the outer world or the outer spectrum is not very soft or polite for us? So we have to bear through a lot of things. Yeah, you want to add?
No, I'm not going to add anything. I'll add it
No,
afterwards.
Shahzad, it's really a fundamental question, because you see, once again, because both of us, the men and women, we keep on performing different roles. I mean, our society, despite all these development, Islamabad could be, one exclusive example, but mostly in Pakistan, women plays a very different role, groomed in a very different environment. Men is groomed in a very different environment. It will be good that we could educate both, not just the women, but the men as well. Women to understand the kind of pressure the man is carrying with them. Why is he coming late home? And at the same time, the men to understand what has she been doing at home.
Yeah.
Like, this is a normal comment made by my wife. You have just come up. You don't understand what I was doing since morning here, taking care of these.
Exactly. There's no appreciation from either parties for what either
Because,
person's doing. on
you
their
know
own.
what-
really need to educate each
Are
other.
we talking something very, very different? We are just talking of a very, very common things.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if a man is coming late home, the lady must understand there must be some reason. If a lady is complaining to the husband must understand that there must be some reason.
Yes.
You see, that is why they say that whenever you are confronted with a situation and you are put across a hostile question, don't react spontaneously. Wait for a few seconds, try to understand what is the background, why this lady does not behave that way every day, why today she has said it. If you give a pause for only 20 seconds and think, you will find the answer.
Okay.
What we are talking is all the common things, right?
Yeah.
A gentleman mentioned something about, I said the KPIs, the goals have not changed. Your father wanted you to be a good girl, nice girl who can take care of herself, who can take care when she grows up, her house, and she can again repeat that process and raise a good generation.
But why do you...
His father, just a minute, his father also wanted the same thing. Now you want the same thing.
Yeah.
Your child will want the same thing. The things have not changed. The circumstances have changing, and that's why this Ashraful Makhlukat, जिसको अल्लाह ने दिमाग दिया था, is, that is why it was given, that according to the changing, the farishtas can't do it, right? Absolutely. And that's why the God Almighty said कि इंसान को सजदा करो, because I have created my naib.
Yes.
the person, this thing has the ability to think. Whatever is happening around you, there are lot many changes going on. So make the changes in your life.
Okay.
And
For example,
raise your
Mr.
kids
Wahab,
accordingly.
Yeah.
you're running late and you're late at your place, obviously, you're not on time. What type of interrogation do you have to go through, for example?
All of interrogation you can expect
Every
a lady
day.
to. Yeah.
Most of the time the question
I
is
swear an intelligent woman will never do it.
but
You
who
see,
is it
over
that
here,
doesn't
no,
know that?
it is important.
Okay.
Over here is the quality of the stuff. If
No, but
she
every
will-
day,
you know.
if you're being
But then
asked
every
the same
day-
question, for example, that
Really,
the
every
only
day you do
reason why you're
something
coming
wrong.
late is that particular lady. Yeah.
she
No,
will
no,
only
there's
she will
something-
only ask you when she is 100% sure that you are not on a professional job.
But Gary Sahib, you've got a very different
Exactly.
experience. Honestly, you've got a
No,
very
but you're
different
very
experience.
wise.
I cannot relate to that too, honestly.
No, no,
No,
I
you
mean, your
should.
wife, it feels like as if she's an angel. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, stay blessed. And to be very honest, I don't know, the situation is not the same for everyone else.
No, but this is
trust
what
me,
we're
she
talking
will
about.
never
We
ask
handle
you.
it.
She
Shazad,
will
I
never. If you were in the office till 10 o'clock and working, she will never ask you. If you were not in the office doing something different, well, she will ignore one day. Second day, she will definitely point
But
it
if
out.
I'll be in office, she
because
might call me
Okay.
20 times. Okay, what are you
Yes,
doing?
please.
Okay, what are you doing? Okay, what are
Kashif.
you doing? How
Maha,
do
just
you
a
think
comment.
you can respond to it in 20 seconds?
Okay, Kashif's
just
going to
just
ask
a
a
comment,
question.
comment here, quick
Yes.
comment here. You see, our society, we don't have really a system of where the young people, especially the young married couples, are trained into or educated into their roles. That has become a big flaw in the society. You know, in the joint families, at least there was a system in
Okay.
place.
And
It
check
was
and
on-
balance too.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, the women would come to a new family, she would understand the values and norms of the families and would gradually be tailored into a certain role, would
Right.
understand the pressures of the men. Now, with the nuclear families coming up, people get married, they come to new places, they start settling down without trained onto the roles which they have
Right.
assumed and the new roles they have been put
Okay.
into.
Yeah, okay, but one thing I want to pick up on here is that we're talking, the way we're talking about very traditional roles here. We are now in the 21st century. These roles have evolved, they have changed. Now to say that, the wife should stay at home, let the husband work, then when he comes back, be like, oh, here's your dinner, how was your day? She's going to ask questions because now we're living in a globalized society. We have media, we have, women have brains as well. If their
Maha,
husband...
it's okay to ask questions, but asking same question every day.
Well, clearly someone
know,
is making the
it's
same
How
mistakes
come Maha,
again and again.
I have
Maha
a very quick
is-
comment to
sorry,
make. I
just a
normally
minute.
ask my wife, when she asks me such questions, I normally ask her, okay, fine, I'll be very happy, go work in the office all day long, I'll take care of my kids.
Okay, perfect.
You see, women should also understand this side of
Absolutely. It's a two-way street. Yes,
There are
brilliant.
two things. There are two things. If my wife asks me 2,000 questions, I swear I'll be glad to reply because they are the question. That's the conversation.
It's a conversation.
If I have not done anything wrong, only I will be worried if I have done something wrong. I am trying to hide it.
Okay.
Number one thing.
Yes.
Number two thing. Something very interesting. A man complains when I come to the house. My wife leaves the children and they come to me. I am so tired and I get further tired. The other man said, when I go home, my children comes to me and my whole thakawat is gone.
Yeah.
Perception.
Okay.
These are two different perceptions, and at the same time, we're not trying to say that, men, they're angels. I mean, yes, the interrogation is quite important. It's an important aspect of the life of a woman, obviously. But right now, what we're going to do is that we're going to share a trailer with you guys, all of those who are obviously out there. What you can do is that you can actually get inspired by this movie because it's about a father and son relationship. It's about bonding. It's about role models. So let's take a look at this trailer. When you're going to come back, we're going to continue with the conversation because men are not angels.
Tell it the way. The man from the myth. The best I can do is to tell it the way he told me.
If there was one thing you can say about that broom,
was that I was intended for larger things. I was the biggest thing Ashton had ever seen.
From the imagination of director Tim Burton,
most men, they'll tell you a story straight through. It won't be complicated, but it won't be interesting either.
Did you ever think that maybe you're not too big, but maybe this town is just too small?
They say when you meet the love of your life, time stops. And that's true. Hey, she was engaged to somebody else.
Forget it, kid. Don't waste your time. She's out of your league.
You don't even know me.
Sure I do. You were hot stuff back in Hitville. But here in the real world, you got squat.
Now, I may not have much, but I have more determination than any man you're ever likely to meet.
Sandra Templeton, I love you and I will marry you.
That was dry now.
Dad, I have no idea who you are.
What do you want, Will? Who do you want me to be?
Just yourself. Just show me who you are for once.
Discover an adventure as big as...
In telling the story, doesn't always make sense. That's what kind of story this is.
Big Fish.
Okay, so this was a film on, about a father and a son, and about a boy discovering what his father, what he did with his life and the legacy that he was leaving behind. But coming back to what we were discussing before, Faheem, you had a point you wanted to add.
Firstly, I just want to say to everybody, there's a book called Danny, the Champion of the World. Just read that book. It's about a father-son relationship. It's a beautiful book. Okay. And that really describes how a man and a son sit and talk to each other when the mother passes away. Okay, it's a beautiful book. I just have to say something which I consider to be very important, which is related to the stress and everything. I like to go one step deeper, or let's say a little deeper into the whole situation. Our minds are being constantly bombarded with information. Okay, we're still the same human beings that we were. Okay, but this information has changed to such a drastic level that our elders cannot understand what's going on. It's very easy to demonstrate this. Just take some electronic equipment, just put it in front of the elders, give them the instructions. They won't be able to follow it.
All right.
This is just a very crude and harsh and unfair example, but this is the truth. What's happening right now is that if you look at the so-called developed societies, which are basically, and I'm sorry to say this, but they're imploding. We have to accept this fact. What they did when they were rising was that they had role models. You could see them in education, in finance, in business, in military, in administration. You always had these names that somebody could look up to. Okay, I want to be like him. I want to be like, for example, Churchill. I want to be like Margaret Thatcher. I want to be like, George Soros or something. Now, what's happening in Pakistan is something we're following everything except some of the crucial elements.
Okay.
We have to follow our own role models. That's not happening. And what happens is that people get confused. One of our colleagues said that we get confused. There's a reason you get confused. You're supposed to run as fast as you can, maybe faster than the speed of sound, but at the same time, you're supposed to, you've got very little relevance here. I used to teach in the evenings.
All right.
I realized this thing then, that, my God, these students who are in their final semester of MBA, they've got no idea what they want to do.
But Sardar, then at the same time, that means that you have extended your own capacity to learn, right? And to absorb and to amalgamate things as per your own situation. But how do you think people like us or all those youngsters who are out there, when we say that, Pakistan is full of youth, how do you think they can extend their capacity? We don't even want to run a mile. I mean, how can we do that?
I would sort of disagree with that, because as I'll draw on what you said. The answer lies in in your part of your question, capacity. You see, I had a desire to do something. There are many people who have more desire, better desire to do something else. That's fine. People have to be encouraged. You see, when you go abroad, what happens is we think we're in a better life. We're not in a better life, actually. We are in a better situation. Why? Because all those that construct is set. You've got the role models. Okay, you study for so many years. This is what you're going to be. So you can see the path in front of you. And we're very comfortable with that. That's why Pakistanis shine abroad, because in a symmetric, Pakistan is asymmetric. In a symmetric system, when you put us in, we're like, oh, we can see till that far.
Okay.
Role models, that's what I'm talking about. And our media, whether we believe it or not, has to accept responsibility. Why? Because you can just, if you don't believe me, just look at the media abroad. Look at it in India. India is doing this, by the way.
I think the only thing we have in media is models. That's it. It's not role models.
Yeah,
so.
but I would say that these models are so big And as Kashif already pointed it out, that it's hard for us to follow those huge models, which are sometimes become impracticable. Why don't we have a look around us and see how many role models scatter around us and in everyday life?
I would like to draw everybody's attention towards the 1/4 of our population turning to be in the early manhood, to be taken care of.
Okay.
This is time, and it's good that in Pakistan we have celebrating days like International Men's Day, and it's good that we have started reminding the men to reflect and understand their roles in a more effective and a better manner. But at the same time, we need to bring this focus to, because there is already an International Father's Day.
Right.
So we really need to focus more on to that youth, which is going to take the future of Pakistan.
And we'll definitely try to do that. Thank you very
Sorry,
much, gentlemen, for
yeah, we
coming
really
over.
ran out
Really
of
sorry
time
we're
now.
running short of time, and our news anchors, they're already
Ready
behind
to
the
read the
counter, I
news.
think that's what I'm going to say. But ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to write to us on our Facebook fan page, which
Yes.
is with the name of
Well, this morning.
Daily Motion.
Well, this morning.
Twitter.
Well, this morning without the G.
Catch the rerun at
11:05.
Look after yourselves, and don't forget to do your own SWOT analysis. Good morning.
Good morning. Bye-bye.
Thank you.